I didn't see it. You're out. Yeah. That's great, man. Yeah. Man.
I'm sticking with the first story. It's much better.
All right.
Any improvements on yourself, it's I know that.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good to see everybody. Are we doing well? Semi-well? I got a yes in the back. I'll take a yes in the back. Usually you guys are asleep. That's good. I like the back row alive. It works it forward. So I was working on my sermon for this Sunday, and I realized on Friday, Chris Roberts came in my office and we were sitting there and we're talking, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm about to throw out a sermon. You want to watch?" And he's like, "Sure." And I hit delete, just like that. It was in front of him. And actually, I didn't delete it. I was like, oh, it's a good lesson, so I need to postpone it for like 4 weeks. And I was like, this isn't working, it's not flowing. And so he's like, does that happen often? I said, more than you know, a lot of times. And so in a week, people think, you might write one sermon. I go, I've written 5 before in a week, because I'm like, that doesn't work. But the one I'm working on, or I was working on, it talks about fasting. And I thought only my class is going to understand a little bit of this when I actually preach it, because we've been talking about fasting for so long. And so, anybody practice fasting? Got one? I got a couple? Yeah? Yeah, 3, yeah. Yeah. So, I started making excuses, right? Because Sally and I talked about it. We had the reason to fast, and I'm going to start there today. And we made the decision we're going to fast together. We're going to pray. We're going to talk about this. We just have something going on. We thought we got to bring God into the middle of it. And so we were planning on fasting, but then I get these phone calls. Hey, John, can we have lunch? Hey, John, can we get together for dinner? Hey, John. And I'm like, well, I can't fast that day. Okay, I can't fast that day. You know what? I made excuses, right? Because I can go out for lunch and not eat, right? Like I don't have. Like if you called me up and said, "No, I got to know over there," like heck no, man, I'm going to lunch. But if you called me and said, "Hey, John, can we go out grab lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah, on your lunch hour, you got free time. Let's get together." So we can get together, but I can have water, right? So I just made an excuse, and I just kept on postponing it. So I am going to work really hard of saying I'm not going to postpone. I'm not making excuses. We're going to do this, and so I hope you make some decisions to do it as well. One thing that we didn't come to at the end of last week, it felt like it was a really good lesson. Wow, front row. Wow. So sorry. Is that you know that when you fast, it's not just something that you fast and you say, let's see what happens. You need to have a reason for that fast. When you find fasting throughout the Bible, there is a reason for it. They just didn't do it and say, I want to try to have a spiritual, what's the word I'm thinking of? A spiritual epiphany. Yeah, that something like that, or experience, epiphany experience. Both are really good. And then when you fast, you're doing it for a reason. So think about that before you do it and say, hey, I'm going to commit to a 24-hour fast. We're going to pray about this. Make it one thing, not multiple, and you can do some great things can happen from that. Last week we were talking about prayer. Hey, congratulations to your kid. That was awesome. Do you guys know about their kid? Won first place in the 3,200 state record? Not state record. Texas relays, but man, still number one. The scoreboard with your kid on number one is like, that's mine. Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Last week we talked about prayer, and we talked about the reasons, the importance of it, and I asked you before you left, I wanted you to find examples of prayer. So you did your homework, so fire them at me. Oh, I love the blank stares. And I love how you look down like, oh, I did that. And you reach for your phones and Google examples of prayer. Huh?
Examples of prayer? No.
Examples of prayer. Show me examples of prayer. It's important.
Hannah, 1 Samuel 1.
Huh?
Hannah, 1 Samuel 1.
Okay, tell me about it.
She wanted a child. She prayed, and the priest, Eli, thought she was drunk because she was praying. So when we were not able to have a child, I prayed that. I read that. Well, I actually read her song after God answered her prayer every day for like.
Where is that 1 Samuel? I want. That's a good one because I want to look at that for a second. Go ahead. 1 Samuel.
1:9.
What was it? Chapter?
Verse 1:9.
1 Samuel 1:9. Right at the beginning. Good job.
But then her prayer is in chapter 2. I think it's her prayer after the Lord granted her. It was her prayer of thanksgiving that she also prayed for the child.
Where is it that that Eli says, what's wrong with this woman? Oh, verse 12, 13. And Hannah was speaking, I like this. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. I'm sorry. You don't see that very often. I see people walking around talking to themselves all the time at Walmart, but they're on the phone. We hope. Or they were saying something to me and I just walked right by. That was rude. But what do you see that? What do you see? She has a specific reason. She is praying to God for a child. But when you see this phrase, Hannah was speaking in her heart.
In verse 10 it says she had deep anguish.
Deep anguish. Good. and prayed. Yeah, I have deeply distressed. Same thing. Yeah, I love it. And prayed to the Lord.
Fasting, because in verse 18 it says, "May your servant find favor in your eyes." And she went away and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast.
Okay, so yeah, she
So I
was.
thought she'd been fasting.
Okay, so verse 7. Look at you guys. And yeah, she did not eat. At the end of verse 7, therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. So there's prayer and there's fasting. There's anguish, praying in her heart. What does that mean, though? I want to come back to that phrase just really, really quick here. What do you think it means that she was praying from her heart or in her heart? It's not just because she wasn't verbally saying it. What does that mean? That's good. That's awesome. Yeah, that's what. Yeah. It's not like what?
It's not the words, it's where you can't form a sentence. You just begging.
Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about there's a depth to this. There's depthness. It's deep. It's not superficial. It's not. I don't want to say it like this, but there's just some common prayers that you just kind of hear, you walk through, and you're like, thank you, Bub, for the grub, amen, kind of prayers, and they kind of sound the same every single time. But this is when you're finding someone who is really focusing on something. I love how we found that there's fasting here, there's prayer, there's depth. It's not superficial, but there is something she deeply wants, and it's a child. But there's a lot there. That's really good. Okay, give me another example. This is really, really good. Well done. I'm gonna put Hannah here so we can understand who
Then
this
her
is.
prayer of thanksgiving is, she doesn't quit. She goes to chapter 2, and that whole thing is like a morning prayer of thanksgiving. So that's prayer 2. And she has words. There she has lots of words.
Yeah. There you know her words.
Yeah.
Before you don't know her words. Yeah. So the other are written. There's a prayer of thanksgiving. Yeah. Okay, give me another one. It's good, really good stuff. That was great. I think we probably could have stayed there all lesson, but we're not. Give me another example. As you're looking in what you just said, Monty, I think when you have that depth and God answers the prayer, there's a true thanksgiving that's attached to that. It's not, thank you, that was nice, but there's that real deep and true thanksgiving of, man, God is here. God did listen. Connection to God and that depth within that relationship as well. So yeah, really good stuff. I think we could stay there a lot. Go ahead. Example?
When Jesus is praying in the garden.
Ooh, show me book, chapter, verse, please.
Matthew 26:36.
Okay, so this is 1 Samuel 1. So Matthew what?
26:36.
Okay, talk to me.
In 38, he said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here."
Okay, so talk to me. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you visualize? Whatever it is.
He's asking for something that he knows he's probably not going to
Okay.
get. But his overarching need is obedience to God.
Okay. Agree? It's definitely what the prayer is about. What are some of the emotions that you think that, and this is hypothetical, right? We're just kind of looking into the scripture. We're looking in between the lines. What's going through your mind? What emotions are you going to have when this prayer is being prayed? This is obviously hypothetical. We're kind of looking into it.
Well, if you look at the same instance from Luke's gospel, it's says that he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. So there is most definitely a stress there. He's not, this is probably, you can imagine this is probably Jesus' most vulnerable moment, where he is stressed. He's feeling. Sometimes we know that Jesus feels, but we don't. It's hard to imagine that. It's hard to consider that he is just like us. But at this moment, he's got so many emotions.
Yeah.
He's pouring his heart out.
Yeah, and it's not just the emotion of that moment. What did he just live through for the week? Like he comes into Jerusalem, we have this huge high, Hosanna, son of David. Then you have rejection. We've turned over the tables in the temple. It's not a. See, this is one of those things that. This is one of those moments that we look at just the couple verses, but understand what's going on. I couldn't imagine the emotional roller coaster. This is the point where he says, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem," as he's standing up at the Mount of Olives looking down. This is supposed to be where my Father dwells. This is where we dwell. And look what's going on to Jerusalem. Look at how they're looking at all these things. So there's so much more emotion. Then you have this climax at the very end. He knows what's going on. So did Jesus feel stress? Did he feel anxiety? I was saved.
I feel like John 17 is the same.
Hold on, we're not there yet. Yeah. But yeah, well, let's look at John 17 in just a second, for sure. But so we're just seeing right now. It's not when you look at prayer. It's not, oh, I gotta get it done before I go to sleep, right? That was a conversation my dad and I had. It was a really good conversation. But he's like, I can't lay down and pray anymore. When I go to bed, I'm so exhausted. I go to sleep right away. So I sit up, and your mother says, "What are you doing?" Because he's murmuring. He says, "Because if I lay down, I'm out." And I'm like, he goes, "It's the best way you can fall asleep." And I'll say, "Yeah, you're right, Dad." But he wants that deeper prayer. Okay, so we see the earnestness, we see the depth. I think there's going to be other examples. Go ahead. Let's stay with Jesus. Talk to me about John 17. That's where you wanted to go? Now. Talk to me. What, guys? You guys remember what John 17 is? There's 3 prayers, right? Within one. So John 17, there's a beautiful prayer. The prayer is divided up into 3. The first part is about what? John 17.
Praise for himself.
He prays for himself. Yeah, pick out a couple verses so you can see that this is not just like a superficial prayer. Is there a verse? Is there some verbiage? Is there a word that you can pull out? Huh?
This is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent.
Yeah.
Let's keep reading.
Yeah, the whole thing is really good. I love verse 4 when it's talking about this. He goes, "I have glorified you on earth." Well, that's easy, right? That's superficial, no big deal. Just be a good, godly example, right? That's what he's talking about. Just say the right words when you need to say it. Do your work right. Just be a good example. That's what he's talking about. I've glorified you on this earth. When he says that I have glorified you on the earth, what is he saying?
By completing work you gave me.
Yeah, so I've had a job. Here's the job. The kingdom of heaven is coming. So what is that? What is that showing you? Talk about this prayer. He's like, I've done this. Read between the lines a little bit.
His death is finishing. He knows his death is the finishing.
Yeah, that's coming.
More work after that.
That kind of goes back up to that the one we just read. Have you ever put your heart and soul into something? Like your full heart and soul into something? And nobody really notices? Yes or no? Hello? Caca, caca, here I am. We're on Sunday morning. There's coffee. A lot of coffee. So yes or no on that? Can you give me an example? I'll give you one. Sermons. I spend a lot of time on sermons. It really makes me annoyed when I go, hey guys, and I see you on Monday at Walmart. I go, and you go, great sermon. I go, what did you like about it? I want to do this.
You expect us to remember?
Yes, 100%. The funny thing is I don't remember my sermons from like last month. People are like, that was a great sermon. I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't remember my own, so don't worry about it. But I put my heart and soul into something, but then it's like, are we just going through that emotion and those things? And does it really mean anything to us? And he has put his heart and soul into this and done everything that God wanted him to do, and he does it. Okay, so part 2 of the prayer, who's he talking to? Part 2? Disciples? Okay, what does he pray? Pull something out that looks really good. Verbiage, words, depth of the prayer. Why is it deep?
They're not of the world, just as I am not.
Okay, so what are you pulling there? It's good stuff.
It shows the amount of, even knowing what's going to be coming, the amount of faith and the amount of reverence that that's towards
Yes, good. He knows what's happening. He knows what's going to happen to these guys.
the gospel. And knows everything that's going to go into it. But
They've hated you. Or they've hated me. They're going to hate you. Like you can just see that emotion there. Yeah. Anything else?
Right before it says, my prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the world. No, it's that they're going to be protect them from the world. He said, it's coming, he knows it. He's strengthened, he knows that he's done everything he can to prepare them.
Yeah. Anybody pray for your kids? Older kids? I'm not talking about like when I'm running around like little ones. I'm talking like older ones when they're really stupid, like mid-teens, early 20s. Pray for your kids.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that a lot, right? So, there's a lot of depth to that prayer, right? Because we know what life is about to be, what it's about to be like, what they're going to be heading into and what they're going to face. And I remember my father, I told you this before, when I leave for college, I'm 19, and he goes, man, I hope you find your faith. I'm like, not goodbye, I love you, like good luck. We didn't have a cell phone. I went 18 hours in a Volvo that I don't know if it was going to get there or not. And my dad's like, I put a tire on it, good luck. He gave me one tire, and I was out the door. But here's this depth of Jesus knows, man, I'm about to send you off, and I know what's coming. And there's that prayer. Okay, what's the third part? I love this part. We got to keep going because I want to look at some other ones. Go. I got it. Us. And so he talks about us, right? He goes, not only do I pray for them, but I pray for the people who are going to believe because of their message. And there's there's a tremendous depth that you're going to find within this, because when you see the verbiage and you see the wording, when you read it, not just to understand the words, but to get behind the words. Do you understand the difference? Yes or no? Hello. I need a verbal or a nod or something. You can understand the words, but understanding behind the words is just a whole totally different thing. And so we find that. Okay, good job. Give me another example of a prayer. Sorry, I know I'm moving, but I need to get some things done.
Jacob wrestling with the angel.
Say that again?
Jacob wrestling with the angel. Jacob
Jacob?
wrestling with the angel.
Oh, wrestling with the angel? Okay, that's a good one. Why that one?
He wrestles with him all night. He asks for a blessing.
Okay, asks for that blessing at the end. Okay. Any other?
It's Jonah's prayer.
What?
Jonah's prayer.
What's Jonah's prayer?
When he's in the belly of the fish. And we can assume that he probably fasted for 3 days.
He could have saw something floating by. It's like, I don't know, but I think we can say he fasted. That's good. I like that. Look at that.
He probably kept telling himself he wasn't that hungry.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not even drinking water in here. Yeah. What does he say in his prayer? What chapter are you in? Yeah.
Jonah chapter 2.
2, okay.
Says, I called out to the Lord out of my distress, and he answered.
What verse are you reading?
That's verse 1 of chapter 2.
Well, I haven't memorized it. I don't know. So there's a distress. Out of my distress. Anything else there? Any other verbiage that you see?
He says he says that he feels like he's been cast out into the deep, which he like
Literally.
I'm driven away from your sight. Like that feeling of being away from God so fully.
Okay. Sorry, guys, that's not good writing. Okay, yeah, man, you see that prayer. That's an earnest prayer. That's not superficial. Give me another one. Hey, go to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. Somebody read Daniel chapter 6, verse 10.
Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room and the windows open towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had understood.
Man, it's not okay. So somebody else give me context. What's going on? Just really, really fast.
The king has been manipulated by his advisors
Yep.
to trap Daniel to this decree of he should not pray till anyone loved the king for the next 30 days.
Yeah. So they're trying to trap Daniel. They hate him because he's risen to power. The king loves him. And they figured out, I love this. I don't remember what verse it's in, but it's just before this, obviously. But they're like, we have to trap him with his own God. I was like, wow. I mean, if you're that faithful, that good of a person, we're going to figure out how to trap you with your own, how good you are. And so you come to Daniel chapter 10, the decree goes out for 30 days, nobody else except the king. And then what does he do immediately? He goes to his house, gets on his, does it say he gets down on his knees? Does it say that? Help me. Yeah, he gets on his knees, opens the window, turns to Jerusalem, and he prays.
And gave thanks for his God, so it didn't change.
Yeah, it doesn't change. Oh, that's good. That's really good, Chris. Doesn't change. I'm going to pray, no matter what. Okay, well, let's talk about that prayer. What does that tell you about prayer?
Maybe they're all some really good examples of how we should handle stress and anxiety. Even though Jesus was stressed, when it doesn't say, I read something earlier this week about a sign of wisdom is when something stressful is happening, he'll call your mom and your sisters and your 16 other friends, and then it's like, well, I should do this, and now they go to God. I'm sure Jesus was, we don't know every conversation, we don't know every single word he had, all we know is that he went off to pray. And that could have been the moments of his high stress times, but he informed the disciples, but he wasn't, and he knew what was to come, but he wasn't constantly spreading and inviting to the hell. Everybody's like, all right, I'm going to God. And I think that's a sign of wisdom.
Before every, I want to put main event. That's not the right one. Before every major moment in his life, you know what he did first? Before he chose the apostles, what did he do? Pray. Before he started his ministry, what did he do? Fast and prayed, right? For 40 days. Before he faces the cross, we already looked at it. What does he do? Prays. There's times when after he feeds the 5,000, what does he do? Goes to the mountain, prays, right? And he finds time of prayer. He sends his other disciples, get out of here, go away. It's interesting. We'll talk about that in just a second if we get there. And then you find that prayer is such an important part. For Daniel's life, it's the same thing. Prayer is an important part of his life, okay? Even though the world says, maybe no, you shouldn't do that. It's not a big deal. Just worry about yourself. He goes, just as he always has done, I'm going to get on my knees. I'm going to face Jerusalem. I'm going to pray. And I don't care if I have to give up my life. Because what was the penalty in Daniel? What was the penalty of not doing this? We know it because it's Daniel in the lion's den. But it was death. Hey, for 30 days, it's not that big a deal, right? Oh, come on. We would say the same thing. 30 days. God will be there after 30 days. I'll ask for forgiveness. We'll be good. He understands because he doesn't want me to die. He understands the situation. He understands society. He understands culture. He gets it. I just won't do it over here, by the way. I'll do it over here. And Daniel goes, no, this is a part of my life. This is how I connect to God. This is what I'm going to do. Isn't that crazy? And look how God takes care of us. All the time. All the time. Any other examples? Because I want to get to something else today. Maybe not, but we're going to get there a little bit.
This is not an example, but I feel like in a lot of these that we've talked about, there's such a heaviness and such a, it's not a burden, but it's heavy emotionally,
Sure.
spiritually,
Sure.
to where the humans, or your mind wants to, it's like a dose of exasperation. You just want to throw your hands up, but your heart says, you can pray.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't just give up. You can't just, at the end, just so exasperated that even his disciples weren't getting that. He was just exasperated. It's like, I'm sweating blood. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too heavy.
Yeah. And the prayers that we're looking at, and they're not always connected with fasting. I didn't realize, I forgot about Hannah, to be honest. These are the harder moments that we're connecting prayer and fasting. These are the deep. Is there a prayer that you may pray in the morning that may become a little ritualistic? We talked about that and we said that's absolutely fine, right? But these are the moments where, man, I really need to hold to God, because if I don't hold to God, everything is going to unravel. You know what I'm saying? When everything unravels, then we don't. I want you to picture just like a cord. If you hold on to God, He's going to hold everything together. It's that moment when we let go and the cord starts unraveling and there's a wind. What do you grab? Like, which cord do you grab? Do I grab family? Do I grab work? Do I grab church? Is God one of these cords? Do you see the analogy? And so this is really important for us. I want to talk about something else today, and I think we can actually get through it. I want to talk about positions of prayer. Can you find positions of prayer in the Bible? Huh?
Daniel was on his knees, kneeling.
Okay, so going back to Daniel, chapter 10, he's on his knees. Good.
David, when he was praying for his child that he had with Bathsheba, it doesn't say that he was in sackcloth. He laid down in sackcloth as he pleaded with God.
Yes. Okay, so do you know where that is?
It's in 2 Samuel 12,
Look at that.
16. Yeah, 16.
2 Samuel 16?
12, 16.
12, 16. Good. Okay, so this is anyone else kneeling. How do you spell kneel? K-N-E-E-L? Anybody else kneeling? Let's start there. Hey, face down. I'm going to put face down here. Go ahead. Anybody else kneeling? Position? Anybody else you can think of? Acts chapter 20, verse 36 talks about it there. And when he had said these things, they knelt down and he prayed with them all.
Don't you think, John, maybe that was just normal, like the normal, like we stand, or, I think, or we bow our heads. I always feel like whether it says they are or not, that's how you picture it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where this one was, but the tax collector in the temple, when he struck his breast and he said, "Forgive me," he stood at the back of the temple. He was standing upright.
Mm-hmm. No, they're standing. Could be that. Okay, keep finding. Google, I don't care. You don't hurt my feelings today.
There's a verse I feel like we kind of run from in Timothy, 1 Timothy 2 and 8. Talks about the men. I'm going to presume they are standing, but he said, therefore I want the men everywhere to pray, lifting up holy hands without anger or disputing. So there's a I lift you up to hold your hands, there's an openness to the receptivity of God.
Yeah, I'm,
It kind of falls in line with our fasting discussion a couple of weeks ago. And that we don't, it's in there, but we just kind of don't pay attention to it.
yeah, and it's one of those, I love talking about this. I used to do this a lot when I was with teaching our youth when I was younger, still pretty young. But we talked about this, and they're like, hey, John, why don't we do it? I said, I don't know, do it this Sunday. Do it in worship. Because we sat in the first 2 rows in Bowie. Right? Yep. Not the first row, because that's sacred ground, if anybody comes. It was the second and third rows, but we filled those up, sometimes the fourth. And so I said, why don't we do it? Well, because we don't practice it. Do you lift holy hands in private in your prayer? Okay? You guys are nodding like this. Just enough for Church of Christ, you know? Yeah. Some of the problem that we have with this is that we associate it maybe with other denominations, and they're doing it all the time, and we're like, is this a show? Is it real? Is it not real? What is it? And if somebody lifted their holy hands when we were praying to God, I don't have a problem with that. Now, a lot of times we'll interpret this and say it's just a heart thing. He's talking about just the heart. Well, I have lifted my hands in prayer, and people have looked at me, but I understand. I'm opening myself up. I'm opening to you. I can't say the word, vulnerable to you. And sometimes what we're trying to get to point here is that our position at times will dictate what's going on in our prayer. Okay? Sometimes you're on your knees praying. Sometimes you're standing. And that woman in the temple, I'm a sinner. Sometimes we're face down because that's what's going on in our life. And I need to be in a face down position, lifting our holy hands to Him. If you want to sit here and make the argument saying that's only your heart, okay, power to you. I'm not going to go against that. If you want to say this is actually a position of prayer, which I lean towards, then we should do it. If that's what your prayer is associated with. Do you hear what I'm saying, though? I'm just not going to do it because I'm going to throw it in your face because I'm going to prove to you that Scripture is right. You do that, we have issue. You do it with your heart, it's something different.
There could be, and I have to say this, but there could be some correlation. If you go back to the Old Testament, the Israelites were victorious when Moses' hands were uplifted to God.
Yeah.
He was entreating God for his deliverance. When his hands went down, they were losing the battle.
Yeah?
I don't know if anybody else here, I remember Wes Warren kneeling and raising his hands, praying for rain. I have a clear picture of him doing that. He was an elder here years and years and years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was long.
That was a long time. Psalm 141, verse 2. Let my prayer be counted as incense before you, and lifting up my hands as an everlasting sacrifice.
John, I think it goes back to Matthew 6, verse 5, though. When you pray, you should not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners that they may be seen by men.
Yeah.
It's not to be seen.
So, okay, going to that, that's that feeling on the inside of why are you doing it? You had your Pharisees out there with the long prayers, look at me, and then you have that person over here, head down. We really push towards the quiet inside, but there's times when you want to express thanksgiving, and it's hard to express like this. I want to express like this. And it's a heart problem there. I think that's what Jesus is talking about there for sure.
And I think something else too that we need to be aware of as far as our heart between you and God is we get in our culture where we feel like we have to pray like others, and especially when someone prays a certain way in worship service and we feel like we have to pray that way. You're not going to pray like that person does because you are not that person. There's only one you, there will only ever be one.
Good.
And so your prayers need to be sincere, because if you're worried about praying like whoever, elder this, elder that guy's been here 40 years, if you're worried about praying like that, your heart's already in the wrong place.
I've had people come to me and say, well, I went to church somewhere else and this is what they're doing. We should do it too. I'm like, let them do it. If that's the thing that you're going, but it's, again, this heart thing. I get, this is a hard subject. Again, we're coming now to a point of we're always doing it one way. We kind of taught one way, and how do we handle this? It goes back to that. Going back, it honestly doesn't go to what position is correct scripturally. It goes back to this.
I think there's a lot of positions that are correct spiritually.
Yes.
It's like kneeling, praying, standing, walking, running, prostrate, like completely.
You run and pray?
There's an example.
I'm running, I'm
No, I
running.
don't.
Oh. Like my running was like, Lord, get me home. Lord, get me home. I'm dying. Lord, get me home.
But I mean, the thing is if, like, my thought is if we're praying and I notice that someone has their hands up, the problem is with me because my mind was not focused on God.
Yeah. Good.
Not because they had their hands up.
Absolutely. I knew the chancellor of Harding. I believe he's passed away now. And he was up at the front, Harding University. We're having a chapel. We had a prayer at the end. Prayer starts. I was studying for a test at the time because I was about to fail one. So I thought God would be with me if I studied during chapel. And so I looked up, and the chancellor, Gaines, prayer starts. He goes down to one knee. Old man, like nobody touches his age in here. Old man goes down on one knee. As they're coming to an end, I'm watching. So I'm like, I'm intrigued. Before the prayer ends, he's up back in his chair. Nobody knew. That was something between him and God, right? So he wasn't going to make a show of it. He goes, my heart, I'm going to kneel before God. I asked him about it one time. I was in his office about something else, and we were talking. And he was like, I said, I watched you. He goes, John. I'm like, I know. And he's like, he goes, it's between me and God, not between you, me, and God. And I thought, okay, I'm good with that. That was really good. And so I'm all for people kneeling during prayer. I think that's actually really big. We didn't really talk about the two passages I have for prostrate on the ground, Matthew 26 and Ezra chapter 10. You have people falling to the ground. I can't wait to I'm going to do a lesson on worship. You're not going to like it. And so it's going to be one of those things. There's positions, and it comes from here. And you make a good point, Lance, whoever you are. Okay. I don't know if that's one or two bells. We got to quit. But I did not realize that we were going to have that much conversation on the end. When you walk out, sign up for the marriage seminar.
Or there's extras if you want to take flyers with you. Hang them up at work, do whatever. Print more.
How do you get a cramp for walking? Lord have mercy.
You're saying a prayer?
Woo! Oh! I didn't do anything today. So there's a bunch of these. I'm in pain. There's a bunch of these, and you can take them to work, hand them out to people. We need to change the email on the bottom to events, right?
That's not an email, that's the website. If they go to the website, it will connect them to the events email.
Okay, doesn't matter. So take these if you want them.
Lance and I have this.
Okay.
It'll be
I'm sorry.
PR.
Hey, I know. I'm sorry. PRing. Right here is a QR code for you to sign up. And you may say, I don't need to sign up. I'm a member here.
You're not eating.
You're not nothing. You're nothing. Sign up, okay?
Or have childcare.
If you need childcare, you really need to sign up because we got to know. Lord have mercy. We have to know who to take care of and how many and how old and such. So just make sure you sign up, okay? I got to work. I got to get this out. Okay, God bless. Go ahead and leave.